Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. On today's episode, we're going to react to what we can from the King Sharks preseason game number 3. And then I'm going to make my initial roster for the European trip. Which players make the 27 that are going to Europe, and which players are right on the bubble here. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you, of course, for making Locked on Sharks your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube right now, go ahead, take the 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell. That way you know whenever episodes come live or whenever we go live. So, Sharks, Kings. Sharks went 3-1 in a hot mess of a game. This game it wasn't played at Staples or Crypto or whatever they're calling their normally. It was played in Ontario where the rain play. And the best way to describe this game is, one, we couldn't watch it because, again, go back to my Monday rant on it's 2022 and we're not able to watch all the games in the preseason But the best way to describe this game is the highlight of this game was the 3 different panes of glass broke and had to be replaced in this game. There's such a bad amount of information from this game. There's no stats other than goals, assists, plus minus shots, and penalty minutes. Like, there's no time on ice or anything like that. Natural stat trick just decided to die with this game. It just says unavailable. There's no way for me to pull 30 minutes of content out of here's the stats out of the game. The Sharks had 3 goals, Kings had 1. The Sharks had 15 shots to the Kings 17. We don't even know how many hits, which I don't care about hits. The Sharks had 8 penalty minutes to the Kings 19, and the Sharks went 2 for 4 on the power play compared to the Kings 1 for 3. That's all I got. So, whatever little takeaways we can get from it. And then I think looking at kind of where the roster's at and which players are going to be able, which players are kind of locks, which players are bubble players for the European trip here next week. But yeah, let's talk about the positives from the Sharks game. Thomas Bordeleau, a nice power play goal tonight. Looked like he was doing Thomas Bordeleau things as well. Really quick with the lines from this game. So Meyer, Hurdle, Evgeny Svechnikov, Eklund, Bordeleau, Kevin LeBanc. Very interesting there. CJ Seuss, Luke Johnson, Scott Reedy, Jeffrey Viel, Jasper Weatherby, Adam Raska. Then on the defense, Santeri Hadaka and Derek Pouliot. Scott Harrington, Radim Shimmick, Nick Cicek, and Matt Benning. Aaron Dell was the starter and played the entire game, and then Strauss-Mann backed him up. So your goal scorers, Evgeny Svechnikov scored on the power. All the Sharks goals or 2 of the Sharks goals were on the power play, and then Bordeleau had a goal in the first period. Svechnikov scored another power play goal. And then Scott Harrington sealed the win with a empty netter from basically his own blue line, or from basically his own goal line. But it's hard to try really kind of take much away from this game without, there's not much to look at. So gathering, our friend of the show, Shang Peng, of course, was there. Make sure you guys check out his work on San Jose Hockey Now. It seemed like he was pretty impressed with Eklund's night. Hasn't we haven't seen much of the offense from Eklund, but he's doing a lot of the little things that hockey coaches really enjoy. Working on his back check, trying to win battles on the walls, stuff like that. Still has work to do on that, but just you like to see those improvements from Eklund, and that way, when he's not just all offense and doesn't provide anything else, or not just if he's not getting on the score sheet, he's still able to provide to the team. So that's good to hear. I love the Eklund, Bordeleau, LeBanc line. Just in general, that's super fun. Let those guys go play. LeBanc can definitely, help out these younger guys. No defense on that line, but who cares? Defense, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Defense is for nerds. And yeah, who wants to watch like a 0-0 hockey game with no, yeah. We just watched that. It was boring. The highlight of this game was 3 panes of glass breaking. Yeah. So yeah, it was I apologize, but I mean, there's really nothing I can do. I read you every stat I have. I mean, the Sharks, they had 15 shots on goal in the game in a very sluggish game. I mean, and it's not like the Kings were doing it much either. There's just a very low event hockey game, and I don't have anything to really, So I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is. So I guess another highlight was apparently the Sharks passed on their bad audio that we saw with the last preseason game onto the Kings, because the Kings audio network was having issues, and the Locked On Kings guy was like, "Are you guys having issues?" And no, so he had to listen. The Locked On Kings guy had to listen to the Sharks broadcast for a little bit. So at least that made his day, getting to listen to the great Dan Ruzanowski talk about the Sharks, and a Kings fan having to listen to that. So that at least made my day. But for what we can kind of pull from the game, Bordeleau scoring, which is nice, had a really dumb penalty with like 10 seconds left. So we'll see how that goes. Scott Harrington, who's on a tryout here, had himself a pretty nice game. Doing things defensively, and the defensive film kind of locking it down there, and then was rewarded with the empty net goal at the end of it. But it's it was just a really kind of sluggish game, and there's not too much to take away from it, unfortunately. So I think that's where we'll kind of put this one to bed and go talk about more interesting things right now, especially without any stats or anything to kind of back up what we're hearing. We're not even seeing it. It's just the hearing test right now. It's not even the eye test, not the analytics. It's just the hearing test right now. So tough. Anyway, let's take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline, your number one source for football betting information this season. Find out the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. They're the fastest and easiest way to check out your favorite games and events, including MLB. You got MMA, boxing, golf. We have regular season hockey starting soon. We got NBA coming up as well. So head over to the betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so I think this is kind of a good time to do a little, it's not quite stock up, stock down, but kind of a nice temperature check on where the Sharks roster kind of sits and which guys are kind of locks and which guys are kind of bubble guys to make the trip to Europe. So just as a reminder, with the European trip, instead of having a 23-man roster, you're allowed to have a 27-man roster. So you get a little bit of extra breathing room in case, somebody gets hurt, something like that. So I went through the entire, if you're watching on YouTube, I went through the entire training camp roster, kind of put who I think has earned their ticket to Europe. And we'll start on the back and make our way forward, because I think that the forward group is definitely the more interesting and competitive of them. I have 3 goalies going. I think you have to take 3 just in case, if somebody hurts themselves, especially because remember the Sharks will be playing a kind of exhibition game in Germany, and they're playing 2 games in Czechia with Nashville. So kind of a back-to-back. So you want to have multiple goalies just in case something happens, right? If Reimer or Kaapo Kähkönen hurts themselves, you're not having to go e-bug situation across the Atlantic. So, so you have Kaapo Kähkönen, James Reimer, and then Aaron Dell. I think that's pretty clear cut. Those 3 guys are going to be going to Europe, and then that'll leave most likely Bo Pitt and Gaudreau going back to juniors, and then you can have Straussman for the Barracuda, as they're going to be playing their Barracuda preseason games. It's the 7th and the 8th. So you have Straussman, and then Itu Mäkiniemi, if he's back to, we actually saw him on the ice, so if he's actually getting back to health, if not, and then Zachary Iwan, he can play, or if he, send him down to Wichita, or whatever you need to do with him. So 3 goalies, 24 slots left to go now. The defenseman, I took 8. I struggled between 8 or 9, but here are my locks right now. So Matt Benning, lock. Mario Ferraro, lock. Erik Karlsson, lock. Marcus Nudivara, lock. Radim Šimić, lock. Mark-Edward Vlasic, lock. So those are those guys are locks to go. That left me, I was debating between 2 or 3. I ended up with 2, but I could see them going with 9 total. So I'll kind of give my extra guy here as well. And then I think with that case, you can take Ryan Merkley, and then you can also take Jacob Megna. Don't forget, Jacob Megna is on a NHL contract. So if you want to send him to the Barracuda, he does have to go through waiver claims. I am not worried about somebody trying to claim Jacob Megna, but just still something to keep in mind. If they wanted to bring a 9th defenseman, I think you're looking at between Nick Cicek and Santeri Hatakka as the 2. And I think I would go Cicek, kind of reward him for his hard work. He's worked his way from being a, tryout AHL guy, getting AHL contract, earning the NHL contract. So I would reward him with, he's had a pretty solid preseason and training camp. So I would reward him if you wanted to go with 9, but mine is 8 right now, but you could talk me into 9. So yeah, so I think where the Sharks are at right there, pretty solid group of guys. And then the forwards. So I went with, so if we have 8, 3, so that's 11, 11 minus 27, 16 forwards, if I'm doing my math correctly. Not a big math guy. So here are my locks for forwards. Assuming Alexander Barabanov and Oscar Lindblom are healthy enough to go. My locks for forwards are Barabanov, Nick Bonino, Couture, Gregor, Hurdle, Cunnin, LeBanc, Lindblom, Lawrence, Timo Meier, Matt Nieto, Nico Sturm. So that kind of leaves, that's 12 right there. Leaves 4 more. So those guys are absolute locks. And then these are the guys I would take as well. So I would go with Bordeleau, Eklund, Scott Reedy, and then Jonah Gadovich. Gadovich was my cutoff guy. He was the guy where I was, if you're not going to take 9, if you want to take 9, I would leave Gadovich and then take those guys. But the Reedy, Bordeleau, Eklund, those young guys, we see what they can do. We see, they've, I know Eklund really hasn't gotten on the score sheet as much, but Bordeleau's scored, Reedy scored, and again, I think those guys have earned it. And then out of all the rest, I think Gadovich is kind of earned it the most. So those are the guys I would go again. So here's the guys that would be left off among the forwards: Andrew Agozzino, Daniel Gushin, Luke Johnson, who's on a tryout, Adam Raska. I thought about Raska too, just because he is from Czechia. Tristan Robbins, CJ Seuss, Evgeny Svechnikov, Max Verano, Jeffrey Veal, and Jasper Weatherby. You could talk me into Svechnikov or Verano, who've been kind of coming along here since the preseason games have get started. But yeah, those are the guys for the forwards. And then for the defense, Scott Harrington, who I think is probably going to earn a contract. If the way he played tonight, I think he's going to earn a contract from the Sharks. We'll see if he starts, if he's an AHL guy, but I think he might earn a contract from the Sharks. Hadaka, Artemi Kanizev, of course, Knizhov is hurt. Montana Onyebuchi is on the AHL, and Derek Pouliot, who's also on the AHL deal. And then the goalies I talked about as well. So that would be my 27 that I will bring with me to Europe. Again, especially when you have you're going to have a kind of an exhibition game, and then you're going to have a back-to-back against Nashville to start the season. And having 27 guys, I think that kind of gives you a little bit of everything. You have basically an extra forward line with another guy, and then you have an extra defense pair, and then you have an extra goalie that you could bring. So then when you get back to after that, you'll have to kind of cut things back down, but that's for future David Quinn and Mike Greer to worry about. So before we continue kind of discussing about where the Sharks roster is and, you know, kind of what's up next for them, do want to take a quick break, let you guys know, of course, about the Locked On NHL show. Thank you guys, of course, for making Locked On NHL making Locked On Sharks your first listen of the day. Again, we're free and available wherever you get podcasts, and of course on YouTube. But when you guys done with this, go check out the Locked On NHL show. On Wednesday, they did the power rankings of the best and worst goalie tandems in the Western Conference. And unfortunately, the Sharks were pretty far down there. The Capo Kakinen eraser, I think Capo Kakinen is going to have a much better season than a lot of non-Sharks fans think he's going to have, and I think he's going to really establish himself this year. But Capo Kakinen eraser, the Sharks were pretty far down there, so you can go check out that. And then on Thursday, they have today, as you're listening to this, they're going to have the top 10 defensemen on who they think is going to win the Norris. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's Cale Makar's trophy until they decide they don't want to give it to Cale Makar anymore. So that's just how it goes. He's really good, and he's going to just only get better, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's fun to watch Cale Makar play hockey. He's really good at it. So anyway, go check out Locked On NHL wherever you get podcasts, and of course, you can subscribe on YouTube as well. All right, so we're going to start to see kind of more cuts as the Sharks roster tries to take shape. Friday, they have their split squad game. Anyway, 2 games at once on Friday where part of the team will be in Vegas and then part of the team will be in Anaheim, and they're both playing at the same time. So that'll be really fun to try to kind of track 2 games at once and kind of see who that goes. I'll be really interested to see how they do that, if it's going to be kind of the team A, team B that we've seen so far. I know they said everybody's going home tonight after the Anaheim game, and I guess they'll kind of figure out who goes where and who does what when you're have 2 games going on at the same time. I wonder if we'll see kind of maybe lines 1 and 3. So that would be the Barabanov, Hurdle, Meyer, and then the Gregor, Benino, Cunningham, or not Cunningham, yeah, Gregor, Benino, Cunningham line. Kind of take one team, and then you would have the Lindblom, Couture, LeBanc, and then your Matt Nieto, Nico Sturm, and then Steven Lorentz. And then you have kind of the younger guys filling out the lines for the other 2 teams kind of there. But I assume that's how they'll probably divide it, try to give everybody some real playing time here to try to kind of your final tune-ups before you head to Europe. I assume we'll see both Reimer and Capo Kakinen in net. And then we'll probably see the same kind of defensive pairs that we've seen all, Nudavara and Carlson together. Be really interesting. I assume we'll probably see like Nudavara, Carlson, and then maybe the Benning, Shimmick, and then probably Ferraro, Vlasic, Magna, Merkley. That's how I would kind of split it up, and then have two of the other lines for each one there. Yeah, and then we'll see Dell and I'm sure like Dell and Capo and Reimer and Strauss-Mann or whoever like that. So to kind of, that's how I think they'll divide it up. We'll see. I hope we see Gushin get an opportunity to play well. Kind of the guys I'm looking forward to is, you want to see these young guys and which these guys can kind of make their final push to starting a job. So, maybe hopefully Eklund can get a little bit more on the score sheet. He's done a lot of everything kind of right, but hasn't been rewarded. So hopefully the getting on the score sheet will help him there. Bordeleau can have another nice game. And then, if Daniel Gushin can have a nice repeat performance after what we saw from him on Tuesday night. So that'll do it for me tonight. Pretty shorter episode, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. Again, it's hard when there's literally no stats, and I'm trying to kind of pivot here on the fly of what to talk about. So thought it was at least a good opportunity to look at where the roster is and who I think is going to go to Europe. So there's that. And then we'll probably do so we'll be back on Friday with something. If there's any cut downs, we'll talk about those. Probably look at a preliminary Barracuda lines combinations and stuff as they're getting ready, as they're starting to kind of get things going here in Barracuda town, and they're going to be playing their first preseason games next week as well. So make sure you guys are following along. And then Friday night too, make sure on YouTube, we'll probably do a live reaction Friday night and then go from there. So make sure you check that out on YouTube. So make sure first though, you're following Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Go check out the artist renditions, which are the worst things I do. Go check out artist renditions on there. And then, we also know whenever every podcast comes out, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, you name it, wherever you listen to podcasts, that's where you can find me. So, and then YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, just go ahead and click the subscribe button. You'll feel a lot better about yourself, at least, or it makes me feel better. So seeing the little subscriber count going up makes me feel better. Follow me on Twitter at myfryhole. Go check out the 2 articles I did this week on Fear the Fin. I did why your team is going to suck, and I go through every NHL team and make a joke about why they're going to suck. And then I wrote a behemoth, nearly 6,000 word forward preview where I talk about kind of the top 15 or 17. I forget how many forwards I did. I did a lot of them, but I talk about kind of where they are, what they need to their kind of expectation for this season. And then I talk about kind of my guess for their season outlook and where they kind of, where we're finished the season at. So make sure you guys go check it out. I put a lot of work into it. Like I said, about 6,000 words. It's the most I've written for a while. So go check that out. Be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some more roster news. We can kind of discuss that. And then talk about some Barracuda stuff. So until then, bye, friends.